Welcome in or welcome back. I know last week I mentioned I wanted to get that Obi-Wan Kenobi video out. I didn't get a chance. Lots of other things going on with the Acari books. Again, that's not really what this video is about, though. Everybody's got their favorite Star Wars character. Um, Even though the channel content might lead most to believe that Ahsoka is mine, let's put her up in the top five at least. But Obi-Wan Kenobi is my favorite, and that holds the character itself holds uh, a dear place to me. I don't know how else to phrase that, but ever since I was a kid, seeing A New Hope for the first time, um, he's always embodied hope, and I think outside of the films, the best way to see that is John Jackson Miller's book Kenobi. Um, the show had its ups and downs. We can, yeah, the Riva thing didn't lose me completely. I mean, it was still somewhat compelling as a plot driver. Um, there were some questionable creative uh, things placed within it or whatever, but I think for me, what really lost me was Obi-Wan's character. And here's a man that's, yes, disillusioned by the downfall of the Order. Granted, this is 10 years after that. He's got lots of reasons to be distraught, to lose faith, to lose his hope, but that's never who Obi-Wan was. He was always an embodiment of that hope, no matter how bad things got, how disillusioned anyone was. And that's the problem that I had with the show. And although the book itself is Legends, that doesn't take away from the insights to the character that it reveals. There's a couple quotes that I want to get into where that's really important, but it's also important to note that the book does take place 10 years before Obi-Wan's show. So I guess one could consider that after a decade of insight that a person's character could be changed, but this is Obi-Wan. I have a hard time with that. Um, if even he loses hope for himself, he can never lose it for Luke. It was his decision to stay on Tatooine, looking over the boy at the Lars farm. So you don't just let hope extinguish itself. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but you can't keep it alive for somebody else if you don't believe in it. And although Ewan McGregor did an amazing job of acting that role, that certainly was not the Obi-Wan that we all know, and certainly not the Obi-Wan that was my favorite character. And like I said, just a couple quotes from the book. So, as stated, John Jackson Miller's novel Kenobi focuses on Obi-Wan's early years in Tatooine, before he fully embraces the role of a desert hermit. The book delves into his struggles with isolation, the loss of the Jedi Order, and his grief over Anakin. While Obi-Wan's hope for Luke's future is a foundational theme, the book's narrative is more focused on his internal struggle to maintain that hope in the face of immense loss and personal hardship. One of the most poignant passages that directly addresses Obi-Wan's mission and his hope for Luke is from an internal monologue that he has at the very beginning of the book. Years ago, we removed one child from Tatooine, thinking him to be the galaxy's greatest hope. Now I have returned one, with the same goal in mind. I hope it goes better this time. This quote encapsulates Obi-Wan's unwavering sense of hope. He is fully aware of the pain and tragedy of the past, having seen the galaxy's greatest hope, Anakin, fall. Yet despite this, he places his entire faith in a new child, Luke, and his role in protecting him. It shows that his hope is not blind. It is a conscious choice, a responsibility he has taken on despite the immense risk and painful memories of his past failures. His hope is a fragile but persistent flame in the darkness. And as John Jackson Miller often does, the end of the book echoes the beginning. Another passage. It's as I said, the delivery is made. I'm standing on a ridge with my riding beast, looking back at the Lars homestead. Owen and Baru Lars are outside holding the child. The last chapter is finished. A new one has begun. This quote directly ties to the initial quote about returning the child to Tatooine with the same goal as when he first brought him there. It signifies the end of Obi-Wan's personal journey of grief and exile, and the beginning of his new purpose, watching over the new hope for the galaxy. It shows that despite his internal pain and the dangers he faced, his faith in Luke's future remains intact. I think what's important to note from those two passages, and there's quite a few more throughout the book, is that Obi-Wan, his hope never wavered. So there was always a belief in something greater, something more, or he wouldn't have made the decision to stay on Tatooine at all. So the show was fun to watch, but I think it drifted way too far away from Obi-Wan's character. And I mean, we've had 3 years now to really look back. 2 years to really look back on that and reflect. And granted, my source material is Legends, not canon, but really that shouldn't matter, because I don't think that anybody else would disagree that Obi-Wan would give up on hope. One of the points I made last week too, mentioning this coming video, was the storytelling and world building that this book, Kenobi, offers for the Tuskens. Now, this is where that Book of Boba Fett reference comes in. I thought it was amazing, and most people would agree. I think that within Star Wars, the finer the detail, the more intricate things become, and the more interested we are in them. I know The Mandalorian did a good job too, I think, of fleshing out some of the Tusken culture, but Book of Boba Fett did an amazing job of showing it. Whether or not you agree with or liked Book of Boba Fett, I mean, that's its own, well, it's its own thing. For me, I did kind of like the show. It wasn't the Boba Fett that I knew, but then again, that wasn't the Obi-Wan that I knew either. We find things to like in them, and for me, it was the Tuskens. I think it's always been fascinating, but where I'm going with this is the book really, really explores the Tusken culture. And I think that is amazing, personally. I mean, you get an up close and personal with not just the culture, but the familial dynamics, the warrior nature, and the tribal culture. I hate to reuse words. But all of those things are graphically detailed in this novel. So for anybody looking for more in-depth coverage of the Tuskens, this book is also for you. But it's one of my favorite books. I've got it in paperback, I've got it in hardcover. I have probably listened to it more times. Okay, not as many times as Darth Plagueis. I don't think anybody could claim that. That's its own thing. But I don't want to go off on that tangent. The story itself is I mean, light. It carries some implications in there. It carries some heavy topics, but ultimately, at the end of the day, I mean, it's about no-name people on a no-name in a no-name town. But I'll let you read that for yourselves. I just would really recommend reading Kenobi if your hope isn't lost in the character. So, with that, until the next video, have a good one. Thank you.